if I'm seeing myself doing something and the system is not going to allow me, then I'll probably have to get to a system that might give me room to do that.
He left Ghana with a question most ambitious minds eventually face. Is the system built to let me become what I am capable of being?
What Africa is really lacking is the funding. If there's no funding, I mean, people cannot really do so much. And then, so if you're just doing a little in that space, it will not really translate so much in the global space. Because then, I mean, people are way ahead. If you talk about the UK, talk about US, they are way ahead because then there's funding.
In the UK, he found something different. Research that touches real people, real bodies, real lives. Not theory on the shelf, but science tested on humanity. Now he's building AI that listens to what wearables don't say out loud, predicting fatigue, restoring functions, and giving people their lives back. Are you planning to return to Africa?
Yeah, good question. So I think
goal-driven, technically skilled, globally minded, this is Nana Yaw Aboagye, and this is Critical Factor. So, you flew nearly 3,000 miles, spent thousands of pounds to come to the northeast of England to study. Why?
I guess growing up, I've always wondered, okay, so what am I going to do after my university degree? Do I want to stay here in Ghana, or do I want to achieve higher education, and then where will I want to go to? So I guess I had that plan though, but then as to when it was going to happen, I didn't really know. So then coming here to Newcastle, flying all the way down, I was like, okay, so my first day, I was like, oh, okay, so this has become possible. I mean, I didn't even think through the process, but then I'm here now. So then what do? I just cut to the chase, because then I had it in mind, but then I'm here now. So although I didn't think through the process, but then I have to cut to the chase on what I wanted to do. So then just go for it. So then flew here, came to Newcastle. I'm like, okay, so bang on, continuing higher education, I have to go for it. So just went for it.
But that was why you left in the first place, wasn't it? Or you weren't sure what you were coming to do when you were coming?
No, so I was sure of what I was going to do, but then I was not really sure of how I'll get there.
Okay.
So then that was it. But then, so when the opportunity came and I was like, oh, okay, so then I knew I was coming here, but then, you know, that feeling where you're like, oh, okay, so this has happened, right? So then let me just go ahead and do it.
And when you think about that, there was such a massive influx, I think, a couple of years ago when a lot of African students moved over to the UK specifically for study.
Yeah.
What do you think was fueling that drive at that time? I think it's slowed down a bit now, but obviously a lot of people came over for study. What do you think was responsible for that drive at that time?
I think the biggest factor was most people felt that, okay, I don't really have a future here because of the systems that were put in place in Africa, obviously, from Ghana, so in Ghana basically. So then, I mean, people were like, okay, so if I'm seeing myself doing something and the system is not going to allow me, then I'll probably have to get to a system that probably might, I mean, give me room to do that. So then I think the highest influx of people was happening during or around that time where people felt that, okay, so the system is not really going to help me do what I want to do. So then I have to then go to a particular place, and then it happened to be like the system people thought could help them to achieve whatever they wanted to do. So then that led to the higher influx of people coming in here.
Just like you mentioned now, when you say people thought the system would let them, what are some tangible things that, I mean, now you're in the system, what are some tangible things that you think the British educational system allows for African students to explore that African education is lacking?
Yeah, so I'll talk in the scope of health research. So I mean, I'm doing health research. So in the scope of health research, here in the UK, I mean, there are opportunities where you can do human-based research. So when I say human-based research, it's just kind of research that entails human participants. So that is a bigger factor when it comes to health research, because then, I mean, so in Africa, some people do have some hypothesis and stuff they want to try out, you want to research into, but then the biggest drawback is that there's no human to test it. So what are you even saying though, to be fair? And so even if we just not even talk about the funding stream, just narrowing down to the impact, there's no human factor, there's no human participants in there. So then when these people tend to kind of submit their research outputs, they don't really get any grounds, because then you're just testing a hypothesis, which is I mean, obviously, I mean, you can be good on the paper though, but they want to see if it's working. I mean, a human subjects and whatever. So I think that is the biggest gap, and so that's what I think here in the UK, and being here for like 2 years, obviously in there, I think that's a very big factor that differentiates the two systems. Yeah.
So education in Africa is generally more theoretical than it is
Theoretical
practical.
based than practical based, and then even coming down to also research, you're still having this theory stuff, having hypothesis stuff. So you're not. I mean, so it's not really, you're not really able to determine if, okay, so what we are talking about, is it really gonna translate in the real world? Because then obviously the end product is people. So then if you're not able to gauge that, then
What's the point?
Yeah, what's the point, basically?
And I think that's an interesting one, because I recall, I mean, now you're speaking about that experience from Ghana. I grew up in Nigeria, studied in Nigeria, and I could say it's exactly the same thing. I mean, I studied engineering, and for my final year project, mechanical engineering, I actually produced the first electric car ever made in my university.
Oh.
Now, big as that project was, I mean, literally constructed it from scratch all the way. Big as it was, it ended there. The car just basically sat at the back of the college campus and just faded away into distant memory, you know. And I think that's what happens to a lot of people's research and project work, that it just goes nowhere. You know, and I think that leads me perfectly into this question as to why you have a company now registered, and I know you're into AI research at the moment for wearables. Tell me a bit about that, and then let's go into why it's important to kind of build structures around your research like you're doing.
So basically, so starting my PhD research, so then my research was focused on fatigue, and then I mean, narrowing it down to layman's term, we're just trying to see how we could use AI and wearable technology. So I mean, we have an high influx of wearable technologies like Apple Watches and all these wearable devices that are measuring people's day-to-day activity levels and some other parameters. So we're like, okay, so how can we translate this into real world and help people with fatigue, chronic fatigue, basically manage their symptoms? So then doing my PhD, I was like, okay, so I think we can translate this into real life, into a mobile app that can help people manage their conditions. So that's how I started getting it into a mobile app and translating it into real world. So I mean, so that's how the journey has been so far. I mean, just the overview of that.
Okay, well, that's an interesting one. What led you into that space particularly? I mean, why are we talking the fatigue? What inspired that?
Great. Okay, so first and foremost, so I realized that fatigue was an under research topic. So I mean, people did just talk about disease symptoms. I mean, talking about other diseases, but then I realized that the main factor actually that inhabits people from kind of going about their daily life activities while they are sick is fatigue. Because imagine, I mean, anyone that has got even long COVID, rheumatoid arthritis, any kind of disease at all, most of the time fatigue is the biggest burden. Because then imagine if the people can get enough energy, sometimes they can carry out their daily life activities without the disease even sometimes being a burden so much. So then if we are able to tackle fatigue and then make people have enough energy to still carry out their daily life activities, sometimes, I mean, they might be much productive. So that led to the research on fatigue, basically.
That's an interesting angle, because I was just wondering, when you were mentioning how fatigue becomes almost the bedrock of everything else, because if a person is really healthy and strong, there's every tendency they may be able to combat illness better.
Exactly.
You know? And now you are leveraging AI. Let's talk about that, because everybody's talking about AI. Why AI for you? Because again, what we see is many people are slapping the word AI on everything, even though there's no AI. So how exactly is AI interacting with this that you're doing?
So basically, so there has been some research on fatigue, even though it's a little, but then there's been some research on fatigue. And then, I mean, thinking about it, we're like, okay, so how can we translate this into real life? Because then we have so much data, we have so much insights from the studies we have been running. So what can we do to translate this into real life? So then the AI model there actually is just trying to kind of get all these analysis and insights we have gotten over time and then just with some intelligence, is able to predict and give people insights on their fatigue levels and what they can do to better it. So the AI there is more of kind of translating all the research we have
data.
done. So it's just kind of accumulating it and then making, just kind of extracting some patterns from the previous data basically that we have trained away, and then it's able to now, make sense of it basically, and then kind of predicts fatigue states for people and help them manage their disease condition. So the AI there is just doing the work of learning on the previous information we have given it. That's the information bank we have got so far from the studies, and then it's trying to help people. By predicting the fatigue state and helping them manage their fatigue. Basically, that. So that's the role of the AI there.
Amazing. And when we think about that, I see the rest of the world seems to be chasing and making significant progress when it comes to adoption and utilization of AI. Where do you see Africa in that journey, and how do academics like yourself who are in that space, how do you see the impact of your work helping Africa catch up, or at least try to catch up with the rest of the world?
Yeah, that's good. So I think Africa is actually catching up though, because in my whole world or in my LinkedIn space, I can see some very amazing works that some Africans are doing in the space of AI.
Interesting.
But so I think the point is, most of the time it's exposure. I think exposure is the biggest factor here. So for now, in the UK, in the health sector, there are some funding streams that are even now being opened for people doing AI research. So then people will tend to, do more AI research, do more stuff in there, and then there are actually people that are supported very well. So we have many academics now that are AI experts that still kind of supervising some students and stuff. So I think the ecosystem actually is helping people and pushing them to do AI research. But then getting down to Africa, so I think most of the funding streams are not really much focused on AI now. Okay. So then even though people are doing it, but the support and the structure is not really helping them to come out much more. And then, so, this AI stuff deals with so much computational power, because then people need access to, huge computational power, huge computers, computers with very large amounts of memory and stuff. So if there's no funding, people cannot really do so much. And then, so if you're just doing a little in that space, you'll not really translate so much in the global space, because then, people are way ahead. Because if you talk about the UK, talk about US, they are way ahead, because then there's funding, and then there are huge compute resources for there. So I think what Africa is really lacking is the funding, because then if the funding comes into place, I think they'll do excellently well, because I think the potential is there, because from what they are doing, it means they can do much better. But then if something like that comes into place, they might do better.
Give me 30 seconds to interrupt your interview very quickly. The reason I make these videos is because for far too long, the African story has been told by other people but us. And so, at Critical Factor, the core goal is to spotlight African excellence wherever it is across the world. And if that is something that resonates with you, please support the channel by simply subscribing to the channel and, of course, sharing this so that other people can see it. And without saying too much, let's get back to the interview. If we're saying funding is the issue, and a lot of academics like yourself leave the continent and get to study abroad, I should ask you, are you planning to return to Africa?
Yeah, good question. So I think I'm not planning to return to Africa to go and stay, but then I'm planning on returning to Africa to do some investments. And this is still geared towards AI health research investments. So not planning to go and stay there like for now, but then still do some health research investments in there, still in the space of AI though. Yeah.
So it's possible to, what you're seeing more is a case of saying we can take the skill and knowledge we have and use it to create value back home.
Value back home, yeah. And still inspire and help some people there also by those streams also, kind of get exposed to.
Now let's talk about I know you touched about it briefly, Fatigue Sense AI, which is your company that is, I assume the idea, that's the app.
Yeah.
in terms of people monetizing research,
Right.
which is something I think is also quite lacking in the African academic system, because at the end of the day, for the person who's watching this, who is maybe an academic like yourself, and he's saying, okay, I'm studying something, how do we go beyond just research for the sake of research to actually turning things into meaningful businesses, which is what I think this should be about. I recall a story a friend was telling me. There was this engineer back in Nigeria who found a way to create, because there's an issue where you always have this low current light coming into
Yeah,
homes,
right.
and this engineer found a way to create a generator, well, not a transformer, that actually steps up the current. So regardless of what was being sent through the mains, once it comes to your house,
Yeah.
it will be full light, nothing,
Right.
it's never low. And that was such a good idea, but then he never mass produced it or monetized it, where we could say, okay, why don't we replicate this across many homes and make this a thing? Why do you think we're still not seeing that? You know, why are academics coming up with groundbreaking technology that is never been deployed in Africa? But then everywhere else, I mean, you could be in the UK like you are now, and suddenly you create a wearable tech app, and suddenly it blows up. Why are we not seeing that back home?
Right. Okay. So I think one of the major factors here is, I mean, even narrowing down from the funding aspects, narrowing down to value, first and foremost. So I think one thing I've realized is that, I mean, back in Africa, people sometimes don't focus on value. So, for example, so I'm creating an app that is going to help people do this and that.
Yeah.
So have I first tried out it? I mean, giving people a chance, like, okay, so use this. Is it of value to you? How do you see this? Is it something you want to use? Is it something you want to buy? So that kind of value system is not really valued also in Africa. So then I think what happens is that mostly when people are doing research, they're thinking of it as something that is so far-fetched. So, oh, okay, so I found this result, but okay, I don't think this is really it. I can't go further. So let's just publish it and leave it there. But then I think there's a bit of thinking, or there's a bit of a thought here actually in the UK, obviously because I'm here in the UK, that, I mean, even still doing research, there's still some portion of value in what you were doing. So that even so, if you find something that maybe in Africa it would, I mean, you just be like, okay, I don't really want to use this. This is nothing. But then in here, you feel, okay, this is valuable. So let me translate it. How do I start that? So then, back to ecosystem. There are lots of funding streams also for people that are just starting up. So then you can get access to some funds to start up something, and then gets that value. You're going to polish that value and then place it up, and then let people get into it. And then at that point, you're not really looking for profits, but what you're looking for is people to kind of adopt to it and report back and see, this is valuable to me. And then those feedbacks is what is going to help you to build a product that is going to go far. So I think the two main, I'll say the two main factors that is not really helping the African research kind of getting into that particular space is, one, the value system, and then two, the funding streams for the startups. Because obviously, okay, maybe you could have value, but then how can I translate this? Because then I'm doing this thing, probably I'll need some money to send this thing out, get people to test, do stuff here and there. I still don't have that. So I think those are the two main things that, that are just
to dive deeper into this concept, you've mentioned value quite a few times there. Are you talking about value in terms of how investors perceive the research done, or institutions not just valuing the academics in terms of saying, okay, I'm an academic, I've done a research, this is what I found. Are you saying people don't trust the academic research being done in Africa versus, I mean, the same person could do a research in Africa and do the same research in the UK, like you say, and it looks like you're saying there'll be more value given to the research done in the UK versus the one done in Africa. Is that right?
So, I mean, narrowing it down, so the value aspect is both value from the institution. So value the institution is giving to the research, and also value the researcher himself is giving to what he's doing. So, I mean, the value the institution is giving to the research translates to what, how is the, if it's the funding body or if it's the government, how is the government seeing the researchers the universities in the country is doing? Because then sometimes there are cases where there are institutions or there are universities in Africa that are doing research, producing something equally as what some institutions in the Europe is producing. But then we'll see the government go procure some of the stuffs there. So in that case, we can see, okay, value in the sense that the government sometimes not really value what the outputs the schools in the country are really producing, but then value outside. And then there's also the case where the individuals themselves don't value what they are doing. So then that kind of scenario where someone even does something, maybe I'm a young researcher or someone does something, like for example your case like this, we're talking about the car, the electric car you did, and then sometimes the supervisors or something don't really value, like, okay, but there's nothing here, whatever, what can we do with this? Don't. But then that doesn't translate here, because then anything anyone does or finds here, they have that support system and that ecosystem where they can thrive. They can just even sometimes, excuse me to say, if it's not really sensible, it can even become sensible, because then they'll still have so much input into it that it will still make sense. So their value is both individual and then organizational, even coming broadly to the governments, basically.
That's an interesting and very critical subject, to be honest, because I know that when you think about venture capital, it's one of those things where North America has an abundance of venture capitalists who are willing to invest in ideas versus those who are just willing to take a gamble on pretty much any idea in hopes that it becomes something. And that's because there's also capital to actually play around with.
Right.
When, on the other hand, you think of an African academic who's trying to create something, and nobody wants to risk $1 million to find out if it will be successful or not. If it's going to be the next Google or Facebook, who cares? I don't know. So we want to wait till you attain a level of success before anybody kind of supports you, which is unfortunately something that's consistent with the African, with the African system, which we see, where we tend to not just be willing to take enough risks on our own projects. That said, however, if there's someone watching now who is also contemplating, going into research or coming to study in the UK, what would be your message to such a person at this time?
I think the first message I'm gonna say is value. So getting back to value what you are doing. You are not here though, but then whatever you're doing in Africa, value what you're doing. Trust. So then, if you value what you are doing, and then you go the extra mile of, studying and making sure that what you want to do, you really understand it, and then you have so much knowledge on it, then just go ahead and if you want to come to grad school or whatever you want to do, just now start the process. Because now with the influx of AI stuff and all the stuff here and there, people are not really getting to get into grad school and all this other stuff just based upon kind of personal statements and all this other stuff they're doing, because right now they know AI is able to create all these stuff for you. So now it boils down to your value. What can you do? Because if someone should ask you, what can you do? And then you're like, oh, okay, I just went to school. Yes, you went to school, but then what can you do? What else can you do? So for example, maybe in my space, I can talk for my space. So for example, you are you want to come and do something, health research, health tech, whatever stuff. So there are some skills that are very necessary. Coding, whatever stuff, depending on whatever you want to do, those skills, right? So before you even start trying to get to grad school or trying to apply, make sure you are well versed in those stuff. So then that's you building your value. So then when you have built that your value, and then you can start applying, and then so when you come now, you can now thrive in the ecosystem, because then when you come here without those skills and without those, you still don't have so much value, you still don't have so much to give. Then so you might even sink in the system, because then you have so many people ahead of you doing stuff that you can't really catch up with. So I think the advice I'm gonna give is that build value, know what you want to do, and then just, kind of build the skills around that, and then you can just go ahead and do.
And just to buttress that, it's like saying 0 plus infinity is still 0.
Yeah.
So if you as a person don't have value in yourself, no matter the multiplier that the British academic system can give you, if you don't have value, there's nothing it's multiplying with.
It's
you know, so sometimes people come with that assumption that if I just get to the UK or if I just go to that school, I'll magically be great.
Yeah.
But if you're not developing yourself, and you're not creating value in yourself, then there's really nothing to amplify. The system can amplify you because it gives you opportunities, but if you're not giving anything to it to amplify, then what? There's nothing to work with.
You just amplify emptiness.
There's nothing to work with.
There,
nothing to work with. Amazing. Thank you for that. And as a closing tradition, one of the things we like to do is to have you share with us what you would think is the critical factor to success. You know, as an academic, you're in that space. What would you say you found to be the critical factor to success?
Critical factor to success. I think for me, the critical factor to success will be, okay, let me put it another way. So I'll put it in 2 ways. So the problems or the challenges, and then the solutions. So two stuffs going on here. So I think in health research, there are so many challenges you would, you will encounter. And this is due to the fact that we have some bit of human research happening in there. And then also the solutions of staying, just getting to, having the goal, right? Having the goal you want to get towards, and then working towards it. So sometimes people just get stuck at the point of the challenges in the human research, because then sometimes it gets to a point where probably you have a product and it's not even working. And then the end users actually determine wherever your research is going to go to. So then if people are saying, okay, this is not really working for me, so it means sometimes your career literally can't even just end, because then probably you have sold something for someone which probably maybe has injured the person or done whatever stuff it needs to do. And then the other solution is then being fixated towards a goal that even sometimes you can have that challenge, but then you've got like something that you're looking towards, and then you want to achieve it. So there's two stuff into play. So I think the critical factor for me here is goal setting. Being goal oriented. So I know what I'm going for. So these challenges and all this other stuff, they'll still come, but then I'm just fixated on what I want to go for. So then I'm just going for it. So I'll just say goal orientation. That's what I would say.
Awesome. Well, thank you so very much, Nana, for being here, and all the best with your AI research and the scale of your business, and we'll be rooting for you from here.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.